Canto 31. Summary. The travelers have made it through the first 7 circles of hell and all 10 ditches of the 8th circle, Malebolge. Now they approach the final circle, but just as they needed Geryon to help them down from the 7th circle to the 8th, so now they need help getting down to the very bottom of the great abyss they have been descending. The 8th and the 9th circles are separated by a steep cliff, and standing around the inside of that rim are giants, both Nephilim from Genesis and the monsters of Greek mythology. Their feet stand somewhere near the bottom, see line 17 of the next canto, but they are visible from the waist up from the final edge of Malebolge. As the pilgrim peers through the darkness, he understandably mistakes them for towers of a new city. Virgil explains his error, and Dante is filled with fear. The first giant they see is Nimrod, the founder of the Tower of Babel. Genesis 10. The poet Dante is here assuming that Nimrod was one of the giant Nephilim, though this is not actually confirmed by any text in Genesis. The distance from his waist to his shoulders measures around 20 to 25 feet, far more than 3 tall Phrygians standing on each other's shoulders could reach. With a head the size of St. Peter's pine cone, an actual bronze relic in Rome, his upper half would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 feet. Guessing that his legs are roughly the same length, Nimrod stands around 80 feet high. His brief outburst, Raphael, my ameki zabi almi, is intentionally nonsensical. Because he caused the multiplication of languages at Babel, he is denied the gift of intelligent speech. Next they pass by Ephialtes, son of Neptune, who with his brother attempted to build a mountain high enough to throw down the gods from Olympus, Aeneid, Book 6. After this they come to Antaeus. As the son of Earth, he gained his strength by maintaining contact with the ground. Hercules came to end his tyranny and pillage, and did so by lifting him off of the ground, thus making him weak and able to be crushed by Hercules' strong grip. Lucan's Pharsalia 30. Other monstrous giants are mentioned, Briareus, Tityus, and Typhon, who either attacked or violated the gods in some way and were condemned to hell for their outrages. Virgil asks Antaeus to give them a hand down to the lowest pit of hell, Cocytus, which is a frozen lake of ice. Antaeus agrees and sets them down. As the giant bends over to set them down on the ground, Dante is reminded of a specific leaning tower in Bologna. Canto 31. The Ring of Giants. I had been bit before by the same tongue, and it brought color to both of my cheeks. But once again he gave me medicine. So I hear that the spear of Achilles and his father would become the reason first of a grief and then a good reward. We turned our backs to the wretched ravine up along the bank that circles it round, crossing over without more discussion. Here it was less than night and less than day, and I could not see very far ahead. But I heard the sounding of a high horn, such that it would have made thunder seem weak, and, following it back along its course, my eyes were perfectly fixed on one place. After the excruciating retreat, when Charlemagne lost the holy exploits, not even Roland blew such a fierce horn. I had not long held my head turned that way when I seemed to see many high towers. Wherefore, Master, say, what city is this? He said to me, You are too far away to penetrate this darkness, and therefore you go wrong in your imagination. You will well see, when you come to that place, how much the sense is tricked by the distance. Therefore spur yourself on a little more. Then he tenderly took me by the hand and said, Before we get any closer, so that what is might seem less strange to you, know that they are not towers, but giants. They are standing in the pit, all of them, around the bank from the navel downward. As when a thick fog disperses itself, and little by little the eyes can see what that air thickened by vapor concealed. So, peering through that dark and heavy air, drawing closer and closer to the shore, my error took flight, and my fear increased. For as the walls of Monteregione circle round, and are crowned with towers, so too above the bank that circled round the pit were towering with half their form the horrible giants whom Jove threatens from heaven still when he sends down thunder. I was already noticing one's face, shoulders, breast, part of its giant belly, and downward along the ribs, both its arms. Surely nature, when she left off the art of making such monsters, did very well to deprive Mars of such executors. And if she repents not her elephants and whales, he who reflects with subtlety will hold her more just, more discreet for it. For where the faculty of the mind joins an evil will and power to itself, there is no refuge that mankind can make. His face appeared long and heavy to me, as the pine cone of St. Peter in Rome, and his other bones were in proportion. The bank, which covered him as with fig leaves from the middle on down, displayed so much of him up above, that to reach his mane 3 Frisians stacked would have boasted in vain. For I was looking at 30 great spans up to where a man buckles his mantle.
Raphael mai ameki zabialmi,
began to cry the fierce mouth, ill-suited to sweeter psalms. And my leader to him, "Foolish soul," he said, "keep hold of your horn, and when anger or another passion touches you, use that to give yourself vent. Search there at your neck, you will find the rope that keeps it secure. O befuddled soul, see how it decorates your massive chest." Then he turned to me. He accuses himself. This is Nimrod, by whose evil planning not just one language in the world is used. Let us leave him there, and not speak in vain, for all language to him is like his is to others, that is, not known by any. Thus we took the longer way, turning left. As far away as a crossbow can shoot, we found the next one, larger and more fierce. Who the master to bind him might have been, I cannot say, but his left arm was bound in front, with the other arm behind him, by a heavy chain that held him captive from the neck on down, and, from what we saw, wrapped itself around until the 5th loop. "This arrogant one wished to be master of his power against almighty Jove," said my leader. "Thus he has his reward. He is named Ephialtes, and he made the great try when the giants made God's fear. The arm that fought he will never more move." And I said to him, "If possible, I could wish for my eyes the experience of the immeasurable Briareus." To which he said, "You will see Antaeus, who is nearby, who speaks and is unbound, and will place us on the floor of all guilt. He that you wish to see is further on, and is bound, trussed up like this one, except his face appears more fierce." Never before was a tremor so vigorous that shook a tower so fiercely as right away Ephialtes was quick to shake himself. Then more than ever was I fearing death, and the scare would have been more than enough if I had not seen the chains that bound him. We then went further on and came to where Antaeus rose up out of the abyss, a good 5 ells worth, subtracting the head. "O you that, in the fortunate valley that made Scipio heir of glory when Hannibal and all his hosts turned their backs, once plundered away 1,000 lions, and, had you been to your brother's high war, it seems there are some who still believe that the sons of earth would have been triumphant. Set us down, and let it not disgust you, there where the cold keeps Coctis contained. Do not make us try Titius or Typhon. This one can bestow what here is longed for. Therefore stoop down, and do not twist your face. He can, in the world, still render you fame, for he lives, and still expects a long life, if grace does not call him before his time." So my master spoke. Antaeus, in haste, reached out with his hands and grasped my leader with the forceful grip Hercules once felt. Virgil, when he felt himself taken up, said to me, "Come, that I might take you up." And he made of himself and me one sheaf. As the Garasenda looks from below, from beneath the side that leans, like it leans further when a cloud passes over it. So Antaeus seemed to me as I stayed, waiting to watch him lean. That was an hour I could have wished to walk another way. But he lightly placed us on the bottom that swallows up Lucifer with Judas. Nor did he long abide leaning over, but raised himself like a mast on a ship.